I visited the library as my official capacity as trustee a number of times, but as far as being a patron, I found that I use the Libby app more than I had in the past. Kind of figured out how to navigate that a little bit better, and found that, surprisingly, I don't mind reading a book on my tablet. I didn't do that for the longest time. I just thought, who wants to do that? You know, you want that book in your hands. However, you can turn the light off and read on that tablet, and you can't do that unless you have a book light with a book. So there are times when it comes in handy. So that's one library service that I did use a little bit more. Our book group here at the library, when we discovered Zoom back in February of 2020, a friend of mine mentioned it to me. She had never heard of it until about a week before, and so we utilized Zoom for a year plus to keep our book group going. It's not ideal, it doesn't really substitute for being in person, but it sure is better than not meeting for all that time. And the advantage of Zoom is that members of the book group who had moved away several years ago were able to come back, and we'll continue that now that at present we're meeting in person, but we're also using Zoom so that those members can participate. And that's been terrific to be able to see those folks again.
Interlibrary loan was my best friend ever. I mean, even though the library was closed, we could order books and then they would magically appear on the front steps of the library. And having a good book is always a joy. So yes, definitely did that.
One of the questions that you had was about whether or not we use the library sources, and we did, use electronic sources, and when you were able to do curbside, we did curbside. But I personally was more excited when the libraries were reopening than when restaurants reopened or hair salons reopened, because it's like, library's really important, need our books.
The library was closed per se, but they were taking orders, and I used the CMARS clam system. Well, CMARS it is here, it was clams down the Cape. I use it faithfully, and my father's an avid reader, loves his large print stories. I get books and I get videotapes, and we keep our social graces going that way by being able to listen to movies and things of that nature. And it's great that the library was able to still do that even though they were officially closed because of COVID. They did a great job here in town.
I think we missed a lot of that. When we would be doing research projects, we would call and get the books so that we could come pick them up at the curbside pickup. Being involved with the library in terms of the Friends of the Library, it was, you just want to know how to support. How can you be helpful? What can you do? And nobody really couldn't tell what to do at this point. All of the town events that we would do before, we couldn't do anymore. How do we modify it? How do we be creative and think outside the box to still include people? So I'm sure when you interview my 10-year-old, he will tell you reading he does for hours and hours a day. He downloads a lot of books onto his e-reader, and he just reads for hours. So downloading books really became much more. I don't think when we first could come back into the library and he went upstairs and sat down in a chair and was like, a book. The e-readers are great, but having that, just being surrounded by bookcases, is a completely different experience, so I miss that.
Well, like my mom said, just the calling in and curbside stuff, but occasionally we did come in to get a couple books, but they weren't here, so we ordered them and then came back and still did that curbside thing. Probably a couple of the library services I've been using is just coming in and doing the curbside stuff. For schoolwork, I was actually doing a project, a slideshow on a bearded dragon, on if I could own a bearded dragon. So I actually came into the library and checked out a couple of bearded dragon books. So that was pretty fun. But other than that, I haven't really been using any library services.
I think Julian came down once or twice to get some books. We read a lot in our house, so we tend to buy our books. I'm trying to think. Oh, we got the telescope. We got the telescope and used the telescope too, which was kind of fun. There was a period where we couldn't take it out, but once we could, we took it out and used that, and that was good.